Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into one of the most intense geopolitical flashpoints we've seen in recent memory, the massive 2026 escalation between the United States and Iran. If you've been tracking the news, you know exactly how incredibly tense things have gotten. We're going to systematically break down what actually went down, where we stand right now, and what the real-world global risks are moving forward.
So let's tackle the biggest issue right out of the gate. Is this standoff between America and Iran just heavy political posturing, or are we staring down the barrel of a genuine risk of global conflict, like a world war? I know, it's a terrifying thought. But to figure out if this is reality or just fear-mongering, we really need to look at the hard facts and the context of how we actually arrived at this point.
All right, Section 1, Decades of Tension, the historical context.
You know, the relationship between America and Iran didn't just turn sour overnight. We're talking about tension that literally spans decades. The source highlights three core historical drivers that have kept these two nations on a collision course. First up, you've got a fundamental struggle for power on the global stage. Second, the crucial control over vast oil resources. And third, that ongoing, relentless battle for regional influence in the Middle East. Basically, these three pillars have historically guaranteed that the US and Iran consistently find themselves acting as adversaries, constantly trying to checkmate each other's moves.
Section 2, the 2026 escalation, a sudden flashpoint.
Now, everything changed remarkably fast in 2026. The situation escalated suddenly, and man, it was violent. According to the reports we're analyzing, this broke down into a severe tit-for-tat military exchange. Step 1, the US and its allied forces conducted a series of highly targeted airstrikes against Iran. And then Step 2, Iran responded almost immediately by launching a massive barrage of retaliatory missiles and drones. We are looking at direct military engagement here, a rapid chain of events that completely bypassed standard diplomatic channels and went straight into armed conflict.
And for several incredibly intense days, the entire globe was literally holding its breath. The source material emphasizes that during this window of conflict, the situation was so volatile that the world genuinely feared a full-scale war was erupting right in front of our eyes. This wasn't some localized minor skirmish. The sheer intensity of the airstrikes and those drone retaliations made it feel like the first domino in a much, much larger catastrophic chain had just been tipped over.
Moving to Section 3, a temporary ceasefire, the current pause.
So eventually a temporary ceasefire was announced, which sounds like great news, right? But it is absolutely vital to understand that ceasefire in this specific context does not mean peace. Sure, the direct act of fighting and the missile exchanges have currently stopped. However, the tension remains unbelievably high. The source makes it exceptionally clear that heavy economic sanctions are firmly in place, massive military presences are maintained by both sides, and strict warnings continue to be issued daily. The weapons might be quiet for the moment, but make no mistake, the war machinery is fully powered on and waiting.
Section 4, Risk of wider conflict. Could the war restart?
So, can this war restart? Based on the analysis in our source material, the answer is a definitive, absolute yes. This current pause we're in, it is incredibly delicate.
What exactly would shatter this temporary peace? Well, the reports explicitly identified two major escalation triggers. First up, failed negotiations. If the current diplomatic backchannels and talks break down, this entire conflict could escalate back into active warfare at any given moment. Second, the involvement of other nations. If outside countries decide to join the fray to support either the US or Iran, the situation instantly becomes exponentially more dangerous and so much harder to contain.
Section 5, the global impact. Beyond the Middle East.
Let's break down exactly why this matters to you no matter where you live on the planet. If this conflict restarts or widens, the impact hits three major global sectors immediately. First, energy. Because of the region's massive role in oil production, we'd likely see an immediate, sharp surge in global oil prices. Second, the economy and travel. The source warns of widespread disruptions. We're talking supply chain instability, grounded flights, and heavy economic turbulence worldwide. Finally, global sentiment. A conflict of this scale creates a blanket of massive worldwide uncertainty. It affects markets, investments, and general global security. The ripple effects are truly global.
As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with the absolute core takeaway the source material stresses. The war is paused, but it is not over. We are living in a temporary, highly fragile state of suspension. The historical drivers are still there, the military assets are still deployed, and the triggers for re-escalation are incredibly sensitive right now.
Which leaves us with this final, honestly chilling thought straight from the analysis. a small spark can become a big explosion. The active fighting of 2026 might have paused, but all the combustible material is still piled high. So ask yourself, if that small spark finally ignites, is the rest of the world truly prepared for the explosion? Thanks for joining me for this explainer.